I'm going to be talking about cardio, and running is last on my list. It should be last on yours too. Today I'm going to talk about all things cardio, and as in the title of the video, I'm going to go through 8 of the top or best cardio exercises that I personally find most effective and pretty much anyone can do, right from the beginner to someone who's pretty intermediate or advanced, right? So even if you've never exercised before in your entire life before this, you can definitely try out any one of these 8 cardio exercises that I'm going to list out and ordered in terms of... So the wind actually blew the tripod over because my camera is sort of making the tripod tilt over. It's top heavy right now, and there's some pretty strong winds at the moment for some reason. Okay, going back to this video. So as I said, these are exercises that anyone can try and will be ordered in terms of least effective, right? And when I say least effective, I mean in terms of calories burnt over time, okay? And as well as how it's going to impact your joint health. So I'm going to go through exercises that are going to have more of an impact on your joint, so high impact cardio exercises, to the least impact. So the number 1 cardio exercise that I have on my list will be the most effective in terms of calorie burn over time, as well as having the least impact on your joint, which is a win-win, right? So let's start with number 8, yeah? Running. Okay, now the reason why running is last on my list, because obviously in terms of impact on your joints, it has the highest impact. It has the most impact on all of your joints, because it's very wear and tear, and it's definitely not meant necessarily for people who are just starting out, and especially if you are very overweight, okay, obese, and you have a lot of body fat. It's just really not the best and the most the recommended exercise for you to go with if you're just starting out, right? Now, in terms of calories burned over time, running isn't even the most effective, like far from it, okay? Now the reason for this is that it's going to depend on quite a number of factors, and one of them is definitely going to be your pace and your speed, yeah? So the quicker you are, the faster you are at running, obviously you're going to burn more calories because it requires more effort, and with that, obviously your heart rate goes up and you will burn calories just, more just because of that. So depending on your fitness level, you're definitely going to have some variations in terms of how many calories you're going to burn for running the same distance. Now that is why when it comes back to people who are overweight, and in terms of joint health and all of that, running is not recommended, because if you are severely overweight and you have a lot of you carry a lot of weight, obviously it's going to impact your fitness, and you're not going to be as fit as other people who are not as heavy as you. And just because of that, also, law of physics, you're not going to be able to run as fast, right? Because you've got bigger mass, and therefore it's definitely going to get in the way of your pace and your speed. So if you're thinking about running and you're just starting out, and especially if you have a lot of weight on you, and you're carrying a lot of weight, you're overweight, you have to consider maybe you can start running when you've lost some weight, when you've lost a little bit of fat down the road at some point. But to start out with, definitely not the best exercise to go. Number 7. Now, I think this will appeal to some people, but I think generally it actually appeals to everyone, because this is something that we can do anytime, anywhere, and we can even do it unconsciously. But sometimes we do it unconsciously, in the car, in the shower, when we watch TV, and I think you all can guess what it is. It's dancing, right? So anything that is, that has a repetitive pattern of movement, such as Zumba or aerobics, which is pretty much just like dancing, because it's a set of movements, right? And it's a repeating pattern. And if you do it over time, consistently, right, you don't stop, basically, that's cardio. All right, cardio is pretty much any kind of exercise that can get your heart rate up, okay, to a certain pace, right, and to keep it there, right, to keep it there for a considerable amount of time, right? And within the different zones of your heart rates, that's where you're going to determine how much calories you're going to burn, and whether it's going to be fat or a glucose that your body uses up as fuel. But basically, coming back to my list here, number 7, dancing. It's even better than running. Now, I think you can guess why, because obviously in terms of impact on your joints, it's going to have less of an impact, especially if the dance is pretty mild. I would say it's not as high paced, or a lot of the movements aren't as complicated. Obviously, don't go for the more complicated moves, okay? If you're just a beginner, you can start with the easy dance, easy steps first, and then slowly progress from there. Now, on to number 6, cycling. Now, this is something that you'll probably never see me do, ever. The reason why, well, this is a personal reason, is because I actually had a really bad accident as a kid. So I fell off. I wasn't the one cycling, right? I wasn't doing the pedaling. I was just riding with my uncle, and I was just the carry on, and we had an accident, and it took me a long time to recover, because actually I broke my toenail, my big toe, and I was just really mortified after that. And then ever since, it just sort of put me off cycling. So this is something that you'll never see me do, ever. And I don't think, ever since I've started my weight loss, 2 years ago, and my fitness journey, I've never gotten any bicycle, or even the stationary bicycles in the gym, ever, right? So this is number 6, for the reason is that it is low impact, considerably, because in terms of, compared to running, it doesn't require you to make all those kind of high impact movements. But the kind of downside of cycling is that it's pretty focused on your lower half only, and it pretty much conditions your legs. Doesn't do much to the upper body, especially the arms. So in terms of that, it doesn't burn as many calories, right? So that's why it's number 6. Number 5, walking. Now, this is seriously underrated, and especially if you are a beginner. Like I said, if you've never exercised before in your entire lives, this is the cardio to go to, all right? You don't need anything other than your bare 2 feet. You don't even have to have proper the special shoes for this, although I would definitely recommend wearing shoes walking. But you don't even have to have special trainers or sports shoes or whatever, right? You don't have to burn a hole in your pocket just to try this out, right? Anyone can do this. You can be wearing work clothes, you can be wearing anything, and you can still walk, right? So this is a seriously underrated exercise that a lot of people tend to ignore, just because they think, I'm not going to burn as many calories. Now, walking, obviously, compared to running, is not going to burn as many calories, but because it is something that doesn't require as much effort, it is something that you can do for a more extended amount of time. So just in that alone, just think of it as this: if you can maintain a good speed, say maybe a 6-minute kilometer run, right, say for 6 kilometers, that's going to really wear you out, right, at the end of the run. And then there's going to be a point where you hit a wall and your speed will come down, and you get slower and slower. But with walking, now obviously you're going to take longer than that to walk a kilometer. Your pace is going to be a lot slower, but think of it as this, that you can go the distance, right? So you can cover bigger mileage, and in that sense you're going to burn more calories. And as I've mentioned in my exercise video before, when you do extended low intensity cardio, list cardio, you're going to burn fat over the extended amount of time. So if you've got fat to lose, walking is your answer. Okay? And the other thing about walking is that because it doesn't require as much energy, so it won't have so much of an impact on your appetite. Sometimes after a high intensity workout, especially like running or hit exercises, hit cardio exercises, you tend to have an increase in your appetite soon after, pretty much soon after, right? So with walking, because it's so effortless, right, and it's very low intensity, you won't feel that much hungry after that. So in that way, you can control your hunger, you can control your appetite and not overeat. Number 4, boxing. Now this is my personal favorite, and I'm sure you know that I have a heavy bag at home and I do a lot of heavy bag workouts, right? So for those of you who don't have a heavy bag or a sparring partner, obviously you can just do shadow boxing. You can just take 1 kilogram dumbbells, the lightest dumbbells you can find, right? And then you can just do shadow boxing with they call it weighted punches. So in a sense, you get some resistance over there. As with with a heavy bag, you get the resistance from the bag. So same thing. And with heavy bag workouts or shadow boxing, these are the sort of exercises that are total body. And for me personally, I have a lot of work to do on my lower half of my legs. I really want to tone up the muscles on my quads, my hamstrings, and my calves. So this is a total body workout that I really, really enjoy. It's a mix of agility and conditioning, and at the same time, when done consistently and you keep your heart rate consistent over an extended period of time, it is a very effective cardio workout. Number 3, we're getting closer to the top. Skipping. Now, next to boxing, this is definitely one of my favorite cardio exercises, because as I mentioned, I need a lot of work on my legs. I want to tone up the muscles on my legs, my quads and my calves and my hamstrings. Skipping can do that very effectively for me. So it is total body, okay, because it obviously requires your lower half, and because you're doing this with your arms, it also works the shoulders. So you definitely get a lot of work done on the shoulders. So it's very effective in terms of toning the shoulders, conditioning the shoulders, so the muscles around your shoulders here and your arms, as well as the legs. So that's why it's a really effective workout, because one, it's total body. You move your arms, you move your legs. And the other thing, as I said before, this list is all about least to no impact, right? So skipping compared to running is so much better in terms of it being low impact and nowhere near the kind of impact that you get from running. And the other pro, obviously, about skipping is that you can do it anywhere. All you need is a skipping rope, right? So no excuses. Just pop it in your bag with you to go, when you go to work. Have one in your car. You can, just take it out whenever, right? And you don't have to skip for hours on end. You can just, some standard cardio exercises should last anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. So you can do that. And even if you don't feel like skipping for 30-40 minutes straight, you can break it up into different sessions. Say, today you want to do cardio for 40 minutes, maybe break it up into 4 sessions, and you can do 10 minutes of skipping throughout the day. Now, if you're very, very new to skipping, like you've never skipped in your life before, you don't even have a jump rope, right, a skipping rope, you have to first learn how to jump properly, how to coordinate your jumps. And there's a ton of videos out there on YouTube. Normally people start with the the jump, one skip, and then they have that like half skip, and then they do the other, and then they continue with the jump with the rope. That's definitely a beginner kind of style. You normally see that with children, with kids at school, when they do the jump rope at school. That's the kind of style, that's the kind of beginner jump that a lot of people would try out with when they start, right? So that, you can start with that. There's no shame in that at all. So you start with that, and then slowly you will get your rhythm, and then you can work on sort of other movements. You can incorporate other movements, whether that be the boxer shuffle, and you can see some people doing a sort of a dance, right? So whatever it is, just take it slowly and take it up, progress slowly, progressively, right? But skipping is definitely a very, very effective cardio exercise. Now, number 2, trampoline jumping. Now, the only reason why this is above skipping, right, or better than skipping, is because it's just slightly lower impact. Okay, and the reason for this is that it kind of has an anti-gravity effect to it, because the trampoline itself, it's basically a sheet, right, a fabric or a sheet, whatever you want to call it, and it's stuck to a frame, or pieced together to a frame, or tied to a frame, and then you jump on that sheet, right? So with that, what it does is it kind of works against gravity, and then it holds up your weight, it absorbs the impact right from the jumping. So win-win. Good in terms of joint health, because it has the least impact on your joints, and anyone can do it. My 3-year-old nephew loves to go on the trampoline that I have at home, and we have all these kind of fun jumping sessions on the trampoline. So anyone can do it. Kids can do it, adults can do it. It's just a fun thing to have, and obviously it is something that can be done at home, just like skipping. You can do skipping anywhere. Trampoline, if you have it at home, you don't have to have the big trampolines, right? You can have the small ones. I have a pretty small one, a round small one, and you can fit it in your room, in the living room, anywhere. So trampoline skipping, number 3 and number 2. And then now, number 1 on my list, and I think you can very well guess what it is just from swimming, right? Swimming is by far my most favorite cardio exercise. So apart from swimming, any kind of water resistance training, anything that involves you being in a pool of water, in a body of water, is definitely going to be ideal and very recommended in terms of being a cardio exercise if your goal is to burn as many calories over time and to have the least impact on your joints. Okay, normally compared to running, swimming would probably burn twice as many calories over the same distance compared to running. So let's say you were going to swim 1 kilometer and you will burn X amount of calories. Running, okay, will be half of that, half X for running, whereas it's full X for swimming, right, for the same distance. So because it's so low impact, right, because the water sort of takes up all that impact, the water gives you buoyancy, right, and supports your weight. It's really, really great for those who have a lot of fat to lose. So again, if you are overweight and you have a lot of weight, you're carrying around a lot of weight on you, go for swimming. Okay, it's also a great rehab exercise for if you've seen athletes when they have injuries and they're going they're recovering from the injuries, they're doing rehab, they'll normally have a lot of work done in the pool. Because why? Again, the weight, okay, and all the impact from the movements they make will be taken up, okay, or supported by the water. And again, swimming is just like my other favorite workouts, like skipping, and shadow boxing, or heavy workouts, heavy bag workouts. It is a total body workout. All right, it's great for coordination and overall core strength, and especially if you are, if you've already been swimming for a while, you'll find that it requires synchronization between your lower half and your upper half, and what synchronizes that would be your midsection or your core here. So it not only serves to strengthen your heart muscle because it's a cardio exercise, but also it strengthens your core muscles. So here, right here, your abs, your core, it will definitely give you strength, and also in that process will tone you up. If you don't really know how to swim, you've never swum in your life before this, you can definitely just go with something pretty simple. Maybe start with some flutter kicks or dolphin kicks. All right, you don't actually have to necessarily swim the proper strokes, although it is a good idea to actually start learning them. But yeah, you can definitely just start with some simple kicks in the water, in the pool, and then go on from there. And again, even if you don't have a coach, there are plenty of videos to watch and learn from on YouTube. I personally believe in just using the resources available that are free already, rather than just jumping straight to something that you have to pay for, especially if you're going to go for lessons or coaching, and you might necessarily not be able to commit to that. So just go for the resources that are available to you in the moment, and then try to learn from that as much as you can. But myself personally, I started swimming at a pretty young age. I think I was 4 when I started swimming, but then after that I kind of stopped for a number of years, and then only sort of got back to it, I would say, in my late 20s. But because I had that training, or I had that coaching, proper coaching, when I was very young, it kind of stuck with me. So the muscle memory was there, and I would say it was easier for me compared to someone who's never swum before in their lives. But again, as I said, you can try with the most basic movements in the water. It doesn't have to be technically a stroke, but yeah, as you go on and you find it more enjoyable and it's easier to do, learn the proper strokes. The easiest stroke will be the breaststroke. That is always the basic one. That's the first kind of swimming stroke that you start off with and you learn with, and then you move on to freestyle. So compared to freestyle, the breaststroke is easier, and then the freestyle is your sort of standard cardio swimming stroke, right? The butterfly is normally a more high intensity stroke, and there's, even in the Olympics, there's no such thing as a long distance butterfly event, right? Because it's so high intensity, it requires a lot of effort. It's a sprint basically, so it's like a 100-meter sprint for swimming, right? So butterfly definitely isn't for the beginner. It's a much more complicated kind of style of stroke, and definitely is more high intensity. So not meant as list cardio, definitely not meant as something for you to do over an extended amount of time. I don't think anyone has ever tried to swim 1 kilometer just with butterfly strokes. So there you go. That's your top 8 cardio exercises, as promised. And I know this video has come in a lot later than promised or as planned, but I hope you managed to benefit from this. And again, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. See you guys in my next video.